I do not know if I'll be able to save this or save a lot of these plastics. They're just so worn. And that grime, I've already taken, let's see, I started scrubbing it with this, which I believe is 400 grit. I also have 220 for some drywall to scrape at it. I've got some 120, and I've got some really harsh 60 grit stuff that I'm going to try, see if I can get past this, because Scotch-Brite really definitely isn't doing it. 400 grit isn't doing it. I tried a little WD with some 400. That ain't doing it. So we'll have to go a little rougher and see if I can save these. If not, we may have to buy some new ones. So it didn't take long for me to upgrade. I went through the 120. Wasn't working too well. I upgraded to this guy. Wasn't working too well. So like I said, it didn't take me long to get to my heavy duty 60 grit, but it's clearly working. Now it's gritty. I'm gonna have to go over it with some finer stuff to smooth this plastic out to give it a good look, but I'm getting that grime off. That was 10 minutes hand scrubbing. I didn't even use the orbital. I definitely won't be doing this all by hand. I'll use the orbital because it'll just speed up the process for all those big flat areas that I can get to. So once I saw success here, I said, well, let me see what I can do with this guy, because this guy is just as grimy, this rear fender. So I just picked a spot, and look at that. I mean, that's night and day. Definitely restorable plastic. This stuff is on there. I mean, it's thick. You really got to get to some sandpaper there. But I mean, I've got a quality look here. So elbow grease it is. All right. I went at it with the orbital sander and definitely make some progress, especially on these big flat areas. Here, it'll speed up the process. And on this white one here, it made some improvements. It definitely looks better. It doesn't compare with brand new, but also you would think that the orbital sander would kind of reduce the labor a little bit, but it really doesn't, because just holding this in one hand and manipulating the sander in the other, it's still a decent amount of labor. It's almost easier just to use your hands and just, you know, sandpaper it down. So what I've kind of come to the conclusion of, this is a budget build, but how much is your labor really worth? I mean, I've been at this for less than an hour, 45 minutes, roughly. And I still got work to do on this white. I'm about to get in there with the Dremel for all these little spots here. This is taking just a whole lot of elbow grease, especially because where those old stickers are, you just really got to get through it. And, you know, it's taking a while. Could it be done? Sure. But is it worth your time? That's when a whole new set of plastics, the cheapest I've seen is the mid-100 range for a full set. I got to do a little bit more searching, but that's not a lot of money in comparison to the amount of time it would take you. This is just two pieces, and I've got a whole lot more of them to do. So to get them to like new-ish status, it would take a lot of labor, So much so that I think buying new plastics is just the better option. I'm gonna keep messing around. I'm not quitting yet. I got time and I'm not in a rush. This is a budget build, but you know, if I was completely broke and I could not afford new plastics, then of course I would continue the labor. But I'm gonna get through a little bit more and then I'm gonna make my mind up, because I think that just, you know, replacing some of these plastics, even if it's to the point where, oh, I can save the front and rear fenders and maybe the socks but I need to buy blah, blah, blah. Maybe that'll be an option. But then it's like you got old plastics that have been renewed that aren't going to look nearly as good as brand new fresh stuff. And a whole fresh kit looks pretty doggone good. So yeah, I'll be back, but you know, we'll see what decision I come up with. All right, plastics update. So that bin right there, I'm still staying kind of firm on, you know, there's a value there in all of the labor it takes to get plastics into, I would say, a pretty close to new looking condition. And that bin right there are the ones where I'm like, man, that is so deep. I'm just going to have to sand and sand and sand. And then by the time you're done, then you got to polish to get back to a white. Like, it's a lot of work just for this one panel. Just for that one panel to get it into good condition. So these are the ones that I looked at like, I'm going to leave those alone because I got a lot of extras. So these are the ones that I did clean up. Not completely, but for instance, like this came out really nice and white. I mean, that looks really good. A little bit of polish and that thing would look shiny. Some other good parts that I'm going to keep. Probably paint those things. But, you know, I got these whites on the shovels. These came out really nice. The yellow on the shovel. This came out really nice. I have another one down there. This one's got a little bend to it. But as far as the condition of the plastic, it's just in good looking condition. So, back to comparing when I went to go shopping for plastics. Like, what can I get for cheap plastics? Right away, I find on UFO, I find all black plastics. And I'm like, dang, that would be nice. I'll slide in a little picture here of it. And then I'm about to hit the purchase button. Now, granted, it didn't come with the fork guards. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend, it was $100, $95 for all black plastics. Like an all black bike. That sounds nice. And then I realized I got a yellow gas tank. So I can't not have yellow because I'm not going to paint the gas tank. So that's when I went back to work. And that's when I decided I'm going to clean up as much as I can. And I'm going to put together as much as I can. And then I'm going to take a condition of it and figure out, you know, do I need to invest it's going to be more than 100 because the black plastics were about $95. The socks were another 25 bucks. And really, when I got down to cleaning everything, all of this came out really nice and clean. I was happy with it. Now, this rear fender, though, she's a little different. I mean, can I get it there? Yeah, I can get it there. It's just going to take some work. You see how it has that gloss and sheen back here and how dull it is back here? It's because I sanded the crap out of it. And I'm going to continue to need to sand it until I get rid of all of this, which it's deep. And then I'm going to have to polish it. So anyway, it can be restored. And that's really the only component that I need to get this bike fully assembled with plastics, looking as best as they can with their current condition, and then evaluate. Is that what I want to do? Do I want to stick with it? Or do I want to go ahead and buy new plastics? So we'll see at the end. Well, after a lot of sandpaper, a lot of elbow grease, I got that grit out. And put a little polish on there, shined it up. Looks good. I know I said earlier in the videos that I started with this fender and I realized that, you know, maybe it's not worth it. But then when I went through my bin of all the plastics that need to be done, I realized that this was really the only one that needed a lot of work. All of those were in much better condition. So I just had to put some elbow grease into one, which, you know, one fender is like 40 bucks. So it's really, you know, I could easily just bought another fender, but that's all I really needed to do was put some work into this one. So I'm happy with it. I started with 60 grit. That's how hard I had to go. I had to go 60 grit. Then I went 400 grit. No, I went 60 grit. I didn't have 400. I had 600 grit and 800 grit, and then polish. I mean, I think they turned out pretty good. I still got a little bit of work to do. The front one, front fender needs to be cleaned up a little bit more. It wasn't decent. It was in really good shape. So it's 20 minutes and that thing will be good. The one thing I didn't show on this rear fender though was after I sanded it and polished it, I still didn't get the shine that I was hoping to get. So I did use a trick, saw it on YouTube, which was just throw some heat on it with this little tiny torch here. If I can get it to start, this thing. Yeah, anyway, you get it. It works. Just lightly kind of went over, and you'll see as soon as that heat hits that plastic, it starts to just create a gloss to it. Don't touch it. I messed up over here messing around. Let it cool off and everything, but it instantly puts the shine back on that plastic, which made it look better, much better. That was the only thing I didn't show, so I was about to finish this video up, so I figured I'd point that out. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, my last bit is, in my scenario, I really only had a lot of work to do on that rear fender. The rest of them weren't so bad. The gas tank was kind of nasty, but it wasn't that bad. And all of these other ones, the sides, the number plates, the front one, I keep calling it the shovel, but radiator guard, wasn't that bad. A little bit of elbow grease, very little sanding to get it done. Them socks, I still got to mess with them socks. Those things, they're on the edge. They probably need to be replaced just because the plastic on them is just, you can tell it's starting to crack and getting on that brittle side. None of this is brittle at all, not even close. So, but yeah, you know, one fender that needed a lot of work. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Even if it took me hours and hours to do it all, you know, I don't mind doing the work and I'm enjoying it. So yeah, it was worth it. If I was trying to turn bikes out and time is money, then yeah, buy a new set, $100. Do everything else while you wait for your plastics to come in. And by the time they get here from wherever they came from, UFO, I don't know how long UFO takes to get you stuff, but I'm sure it'll take a little while. And, you know, you got other stuff to do in the meantime. So it would definitely be worth just buying a new set when you're only talking $100, 120 with the socks. It was 95 without them. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.